Hey, that was a great time of celebration from just the 2025. We're rolling into 2026. And Dr. Tania Cubitt has got some great stuff to share with us today. She comes from Queensland, Australia, via Culpeper, Virginia. Okay, that's good right there. And she serves as a consultant for performance horse nutrition. She's gonna be sharing with us what's new at DAC. But before we do that, here, I want you to get your pads out. Mentor, right at the top of the page, Dr. Tania. And then, hey, look for that moment, look for that move, and listen, hey, this is one of the big things. This is a little bit of housekeeping here. But you know what? This is a good time to silence the cell phones. This is a good time to park your focus and listen to everything that's coming up. A lot of wisdom is gonna be shared, a lot of opportunity. Let's give a big warm welcome to Dr. Tania Cubitt.
Thank you, folks. And as usual, can you all hear me? Awesome, awesome. Okay, I am excited to be back, and I am excited to be talking about the new products that we have been painstakingly working on since DAC days of last year. We've got some exciting new things. So what's new? Well, it is the year of the horse. I showed this to the folks yesterday, and they're like, what on earth are you putting up? It is the year of the horse. It is our year. If you follow the Chinese calendar, it's the year of the horse. So first, though, I am going to talk a little bit about vitamin E. And I have to call out one of my favorite folks that works at DAC, Furman Yoder. Because years ago, when we launched the DAC E Natural, he said, nobody's going to buy that. And there were bags and bags of it in the warehouse. Nobody's going to want to buy this. And I had meetings with Andy after Furman had said that, and I said, Andy, we have got to sell all this. We will sell all of this trip. And we did, and I think that Furman has now converted that vitamin E is pretty important for horses, and it is one of the top-selling products. So some of this may be a little review, but in order to kind of show you how technologies have changed and where we've gone with this new product, I think it's important to just rehash some of the importance of vitamin E. If you've seen any of my presentations, you have seen this. I always start with this. What is natural for the horse? The horse is designed to be a fiber digesting animal. He's meant to eat a wide variety of different forages, and he's meant to continually eat forage. 12 to 18 hours out of the day, grazing, eating from the ground. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter whether you're Amish, English, Chinese, Japanese, most horses do not get access to pasture for as long as they need to get all of their nutritional requirements from said pasture. Modern horses, modern performance horses, even just pleasure horses, live in stalls, eat a lot more hay, eat a lot more cereal grain-based diets in order to get all of the nutrition in order for them to pull a buggy, race, jump, or just be a pleasure animal. So we have completely changed the diet of our horses. And in doing that, we now have to make up for the deficiencies in that diet that they may not be getting out of pasture. So the basics, vitamin E primarily comes from fresh green pasture. And as we've just said, horses don't eat much fresh green pasture. Once forage is cut, pasture is cut, and we turn it into hay, the vitamin E levels rapidly decrease. Think about vitamin E. It is a powerful antioxidant. We can think about it like a preservative. So when you cut that grass so that it doesn't just rot and ferment on the ground, something is preserving it. And the vitamin E is depleted. Pretty much 80% of that vitamin E is gone out of that grass in the first week. Now, if you're fortunate enough, and I've worked with different clients that have the luxury of being able to cover that hay, get it off the field really quickly. They don't live in a humid climate. They live in a very dry climate, and they can get it out of the light, because the light shining on that is one of the things that is deteriorating that vitamin E. Then we can see slightly higher levels of vitamin E in the hay, but pretty routinely across the board, hay is not a very high source of vitamin E. So then we're relying on our commercial feeds or our supplements to provide that vitamin E. And it was probably, I can't recall when we brought out the DAC E Natural, but a lot of research started being done looking at different disorders in horses, looking at blood tests in horses, and seeing that we really had an issue with low vitamin E across the board in our exercising horses. Some of the signs that we might see, some of those early signs might be as simple as reduced performance, muscle soreness, he's not recovering as well, or maybe he's got a weakened immune system. And I think for a long time, those early signs, we may have thought they were due to something else. Maybe I gave him a hard workout today. Maybe he's a young horse and he's new to being backed. Or maybe it's a new buggy horse, or it was a long drive, or whatever exercise discipline you do. Maybe it's the winter time and we thought, he's got a bit of a weakened immune system. So maybe we weren't associating those to a lack in vitamin E, and we thought maybe they would just go away. And then as that progresses, and the longer they're deficient in vitamin E, we start to see muscle weakness. One of the most common things that I see is top line issues. So you can see, I think this is a pretty cool little graphic. He really looked nice here. He had a really nice rounded top line, strong muscled back and hindquarter. And now he looks like this guy here. You know, weaker over the top line, not muscled well. I'm feeding all kinds of protein supplements. I'm doing all of the exercises. I'm feeding every supplement that says top line balance. And it's still not changing. Poor stamina even. So I think that the industry now is much more aware that these early and moderate signs can be related to vitamin E. And it's one of the first things that I look at before I look at, other disease states is let's just add some vitamin E. Can get a pretty quick turnaround by adding vitamin E to these horses. And if that doesn't change after about 30 days, we're not seeing any response, then maybe we can look a little deeper at something else. But a lot of times, it's issues with vitamin E. And then severe deficiencies in vitamin E, we're going to see more neurological issues. There's certain actual disease states. Now, this is a tongue twister this early in the morning, and I'll only say it once. Either equine motor neuron disease, EMND, equine degenerative myoencephalitis. There will be a quiz in the breakout sessions. I'm sure I can find a DAC hat or something to give away. And neuroaxonal dystrophy. These are actual diagnosed diseases, diagnosed by a veterinarian. And a lot of times what we're seeing, some signs that we see in these horses, a lot of muscle trembling. If anyone's seen the quarter horses that have HYPP and they're actually twitching, you'll see that. Abnormal stance, they're really leaning back because the hindquarter is not able to stabilize them and they're really weak, and so they'll have a lot of instability. And also if you try and turn the horse, they'll step on their front feet. If you turn a horse sharply, they should be able to work out, it's called proprioception, they should be able to work out where their feet are, but they actually step on their own feet. So these are some symptoms of deficiency in vitamin E, from very early signs all the way through to very, very severe. Well, what's causing this? As we mentioned, the majority of our horses get most of their fiber requirements from hay. Based on the way we keep horses, the majority of their fiber comes from hay. We've also determined that hay, for the most part, is pretty deficient in vitamin E. We put horses in stalls, therefore they're not getting pasture, but also just the increased demand. Performance horses, growing horses, and when I say performance horse, I don't mean that it's going out and winning a blue ribbon. Exercising horses, you're doing any kind of exercise, buggy horses, or performance in the terms of like racing. Growing horses, pregnant and lactating horses, these horses all have an elevated demand. So the requirements that were set saying that pasture, if your horse had 24-hour access to fresh green pasture, they would be able to get enough vitamin E, that was for maintenance, not the elevated requirements that we put on horses. We also know, as we dig deeper into vitamin E, that it is a fat-soluble vitamin. So if you have a thin horse that does not carry a lot of extra body fat, that is going to be an issue. So if we've got a thinner horse, we may have some issues with vitamin E absorption. So let's get into some of the other things. We talked about the symptoms that you might see, poor top line, muscle recovery, etc. But there are other very important roles that vitamin E plays a huge role in the reproductive system. But we'll backtrack. I mentioned earlier it is a powerful antioxidant. And this is a very simplified way of describing what an antioxidant does. There are other antioxidants. I'm sure you've all heard of selenium. That's another powerful antioxidant. But stress, aging, disease, there are all of these things that happen to us and our horses that cause oxidative stress, right? And the stress on the body, I'll look at my little diagram here, and we've got these stable molecules. Don't worry, we're not getting too sciencey, but you'll see he's got a smiley face because all of his little electrons are paired up. And then you see this angry one down here, this little red one. He's what we call a free radical. He's the damage that is bouncing around in the body that is caused by stress or disease, heat stress, exercise. It causes these little free radicals, and he's unhappy. And he's unhappy because one of his little pairs is lonely, and he doesn't have a pair there. And the antioxidant's goal, he's got extras. So vitamin E, selenium, antioxidants, they have little extras that they give to these unhappy guys and pair them up so that now they're stable and not causing all that damage. That's about as sciencey as we're going to get today, but what you need to realize is when that antioxidant gives up his little electron to make the bad guy happy again, then he's kind of spent. So we need to continually feed antioxidants. It's not like one and done. Oh, I fed vitamin E today, I don't have to feed it again. It needs to be in the diet. Vitamin E, selenium need to be in the diet continually because we are continually stressing. We're continually just naturally aging, creating this little unhappy guy. So we need antioxidants in the diet continually. When we think about muscle and how muscle is built, now there's a lot of things that go into muscle. Eating good quality protein is one of them. Doing the right exercises is one of them. But vitamin E is also really important. So the top pathway here is when we have sufficient vitamin E, the blue line. And when you exercise, you're breaking down those muscle fibers. And with adequate protein and adequate vitamin E, we repair those cells, we build those muscle fibers back, and you get bigger, stronger muscles. If you don't have enough vitamin E in the diet, then we exercise, we break down that tissue, but we don't build it back. So the poor horse that is doing all that exercise, you're feeding him all the protein in the world, but his top line just isn't building. This guy, he's not rebuilding those muscle fibers. Vitamin E is also really important in the circulatory system. That's the blood moving around the body. The blood carries oxygen around your body. Whether you're a barrel racing horse, a buggy horse, a broodmare, a baby, or a pasture pet, that is extremely important. Vitamin E helps with the blood vessels. Any of you that have done any kind of intense exercise in horses knows that one of the issues that we can see is maybe sometimes bleeding out of the nose. And vitamin E, having enough vitamin E in the diet can help keep those blood vessels strong and flexible so that we don't have so much breakdown. The immune system. So 70% of the immune system comes from your gut. So we've got lots of different supplements that help build the gut, but also those antioxidants. They're extremely important to protect those aging cells, those damaged cells, as we said, for the immune system. We know, if you think about horses in the wild, in the spring and the fall, there's lots of fresh green grass. In the summer, it goes down, and in the wintertime, the grass isn't growing, it's dormant, so there's not a lot of fresh green grass. So it is very normal to see a decline in vitamin E in your horses in wintertime. What we have done, though, is completely taken the seasonal nature of horses. There's no seasons. We still have environmental seasons, but it's not like in the wintertime you're not driving your buggy horse, and in the summertime you're not driving your buggy horse. Year-round, we're exercising these horses. Year-round, we're expecting them to perform. So this seasonal availability of certain nutrients now becomes an issue because we need it to be year-round. So older horses are more susceptible to issues with their immune system. A natural function of aging, everything's just breaking down, and we want to slow that down. We want to slow down that breakdown, that oxidative stress. So vitamin E is really, really important in older animals. These are those diseases that I said I wouldn't say the names again. The first two we're seeing mainly in adult horses, but the neuroaxonal dystrophy we'll see mainly in young horses. The first one, the vitamin E deficient myopathy, now these are diagnosed by your veterinarian. This isn't you just looking at your horse and thinking, oh, I think he's low in vitamin E. We've done a blood test, we've looked at vitamin E, but these are some of those more severe symptoms. We talked about the muscle wasting, the twitching, but your farrier, I know there's a lot of farriers in here, your farrier may really help with this. Toe dragging, that kind of ataxia, that weakness, they'll drag a toe or they'll shift their weight. They won't be able to stand still. Usually in the cross ties for the farrier, they won't be able to put all their weight on those other three legs. And a lot of people say, well, that horse just has bad manners. No, the horse doesn't have bad manners. Perhaps he's low in vitamin E and it's just painful for him. In these horses with some intense vitamin E treatment, we can usually recover them within 3 months. But the equine motor neuron disease and the neuroaxonal dystrophy, they have more guarded prognosis. So some we can correct, but maybe some are a bit of an issue. Okay, so we've talked about vitamin E, we've talked about what causes it to be low. Now let's talk about its absorption, because this is kind of getting into the new product that we have. So we have fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. Vitamin E, vitamin A, D, and K, these are all fat-soluble vitamins. So when they're absorbed, they're stored in the fat, and they're used later on. Water-soluble vitamins, like B vitamins, you can see, whoops, I went too far. You can see here there's lots of water-soluble vitamins constantly being absorbed through the intestinal wall. Fat-soluble vitamins, there's a whole lot less because we're storing them and we're going to be able to use them later. So like I mentioned, water-soluble, we dissolve them in water. They're absorbed directly into the bloodstream. They're not stored anywhere. but they can be excreted out of the body pretty quickly too. The fat-soluble vitamins stored in the body's fat and the liver, they remain in the body for a long time. So now we get into the marketing of these products. Natural vitamin E versus synthetic. And I think that we've established that natural vitamin E is significantly more bioavailable. Unfortunately, it's harder for the audience to determine synthetic versus natural. It's not like the label is just going to say, oh, this is synthetic vitamin E or natural vitamin E. But I think, yep, okay. So if you look in the ingredients list, though, you can see how we write vitamin E. We're either going to write it as D-alpha tocopherol or DL. Remember, if you see the L, that is synthetic. That's all you got to remember. If you see the little L after the D, that's synthetic vitamin E. So the red and yellow product that I've got there, I highlighted. It is DL alpha tocopherol. The vitamin E from DAC, it's just plain D. Then I get a lot of questions. Oh, my vet said I need a liquid vitamin E. I need a liquid vitamin E. I've heard, or I read on the internet, I read in my little magazine, that it is more bioavailable to horses. Liquid is different to water soluble. Liquid just means it's suspended in a liquid form, and to me it's just a convenience-based product. So just because it's liquid doesn't mean anything, doesn't even mean that it could be natural. These products that I've highlighted, this product here, you can see that the first ingredient is soybean oil and then DL alpha tocopherol. So this product is a synthetic vitamin E dissolved that is suspended in oil. The Healthy E product, another one, again, it's soybean oil and it's DL, it's synthetic vitamin E in a liquid form. So maybe it's convenient, you don't have a powder and you can just pump it, but it is synthetic vitamin E. This one here, down here, the Equine Omega Complete, that is a natural vitamin E, but it is still suspended in oil. So again, it's no more bioavailable than any other powdered natural vitamin E. It is purely a convenience-based product. It's in a liquid form. So don't get confused and think that every liquid vitamin E is more bioavailable than every powdered vitamin E, because liquid does not always mean water soluble. So when a veterinarian or maybe a trainer or someone says, I think your horse needs a water-soluble vitamin E. I've heard that it's much more bioavailable. It's going to get into your horse faster. What they mean is the easiest way to determine that is you're going to look at the ingredients, and the first ingredient on that label is going to be water, and then the D-alpha tocopherol acetate, right? So it's water. And what we've done is we've literally made oil mixed with water. I told you at the very beginning, vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin. Water does not mix with oil. So how is that going to work? We use different technologies in order to get that fat globule, that fat vitamin E, to mix in water and to be able to utilize those water-soluble vitamin receptors, right? You saw that there were a lot of water-soluble channels. But as I have learned more recently, I thought that all water-soluble was the same. But there's actually a very different technology that's being used. There's two different technologies, and that's what we'll get into. There's this micellized technology, and I know that this is getting a little detailed, and you're really not going to have to ever go out and repeat this, but this is our dealers here. I know that I have one opportunity to talk to you, and you will then talk to many different people, so I'm giving you a little bit more information. In order to make that little fat vitamin E be able to mix with water, we actually put this little layer around it, this little water layer around it, in order for it to be absorbed through those water-soluble channels, to be absorbed more quickly. This layer that we put around it, this solvent that allows it to mix with water, can sometimes be chemical. It's a really big particle, right? It's a big particle, and what I have found is the absorption of this technology can vary with gut health. So if you already have a horse that has some gut issues, which we've established, a lot of horses have, performance horses have gut issues, then the absorption of this micellized type of vitamin E may vary. There is one particular product that I have had anecdotally very varying absorption results. And now I am understanding a little bit more why. Very large particle size. So, we at DAC, we have been getting asked over and over and over, do you have one of these water-soluble, do you have one of these vitamin E products that my vet is recommending that is very rapidly absorbed? And up until now, we had not. We have found a new technology, a manufacturer, that is supplying us with a nano disperse. So it's tiny, tiny, tiny particle size. So there's no solvent, there's no chemical involved, it's just super tiny. It mixes very evenly in water, it absorbs very, very quickly. It raises the blood levels of vitamin E really quickly, and the big kicker is it has the most consistent results when it comes to absorption. The LQE Natural WS. You know me, when I name products, I like them to be descriptive of what it is. It is a liquid, natural vitamin E that is water soluble. So, this is just a little graph of the absorption. So after giving horses an oral dose of 5,000 IUs of each of the different forms of vitamin E, what the blood is showing. So you can see that the nano version, like the DAC product, has the highest absorption rate. I can make a case that every horse needs extra vitamin E, but I know the question now becomes, especially to you folks, when you're going to bring this new product to your clients, is, well, how are they going to decide which product do I use? Do I continue using the powdered natural, E-Natural, or do I use this new bottle of stuff that she's told us about? Here's what I would recommend. Going through these questions here, it's always ask a bunch of questions. If we're looking at maintenance, if we're looking at long-term support, long-term usage, if your horse has a healthy digestion or they're on a moderate to high-fat diet anyway, or we're looking for a more cost-effective route, we are still continuing to use the DAC E-Natural powder. And a lot of times I'll actually use a combination. If a client comes to you and says, you know, I have been struggling with top line, I've been struggling with all these issues, I really need some rapid increase in vitamin E status, then I'm going to go towards the liquid product. Vet's diagnosed with a neurological issue, a thin horse that doesn't have a lot of fat stores, I'm going to use the water soluble, the little bottle. I may only use that for a month and then switch over to the powdered version. So it's not here to cannibalize the sales of the powdered version. It is much more rapid absorption. It is more expensive, but it is more of a therapeutic short-term product. And I think that it really fills a niche that we did not have filled before. Next product. Next product comes as a culmination, really, of two products. And it's one of those, we came up with this because we listened to you all, we heard the complaints, we have a product called Breeders Excel, we had a product called DHA Perform. I really wanted the active ingredients still. I know that those active ingredients have very important roles, but they weren't very palatable. The Breeders' Excel, you had to feed a pound a day of it. It smelled a bit. And I understand that when you put the word breeding on it, then it's just by nature limiting your market, because now people are saying, well, what do I feed my performance horse? That's a breeding horse supplement. Well, you can feed the breeding horse supplement, but to make it easier to market and for you to talk to your customers about it, we have come up with a new product that is going to overcome some of these issues. The DHA Perform, we actually discontinued that a little while ago. It looked and smelled a lot like fish food, I know, but the DHA is fantastic for so many different functions in the body, but it was expensive and it was a wee bit smelly. So, voila, we have come up with the Omega Excel. I wanted to use the word Omega in the name again, because you know I like to name products with what it actually does. And I got so many questions from people saying, do you have an Omega supplement? Well, yes, of course we've got an Omega. We've got the Breeders' Excel, we've got the DHA Perform, we've got the DAC Oil. All of these have high levels of Omega, but none of them said Omega, so it was implied that we didn't have one. So I wanted to call it Omega Excel. It's now in a 2 to 4 ounce feeding rate. You remember the Breeders' Excel was a little pellet. Every time you pellet or process something, it adds to the cost. And with high-fat products that are already a little smelly, if you've ever been to a pellet mill, you know you use high heat to press that thing through the die, and it is going to expose any of the smell that was there. So we are trialing this as a meal. This is not a pelleted product. It still has the same amount of active ingredients. So it still has 1,000 IUs of vitamin E, natural vitamin E. It still has 15 grams of DHA, but now it's super concentrated in either that 2 or 4 ounce feeding rate. It smells a whole lot better because we are using a new DHA supplier that is much less potent in its smell. As I mentioned, I changed the name of it to make it a little more clear to the consumer as to what it does. And I have also gone out on a limb and included a very, very new technology. This technology has a lot of airplay in the human industry, especially in human performance, but also in human aging, brain health, reproductive health, and that is an ingredient called NAD+. Again, it's another real long one that I will only say once: nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. That's it, we're not saying it again, we're just going to say NAD. But it is a molecule that is found in every cell of your body. It's every cell of my body and every cell of your horse's body. And what does it do? You all spend a lot of money on feed, right? It's one of the things that costs the most is the fuel for your horse, the feed for your horse, the hay, grain, supplements. One of the primary roles of NAD is to help with the pathways that convert feed into energy. Cell repair, so that aging, muscle building, brain health. As you age, you are constantly just breaking down. If we can slow that down, that is a good thing. Recovery from stress, reproduction. If you have limited levels of NAD, then you don't have energy production. When I was talking to the sales reps yesterday about this, I said, we have to be careful using the word energy, because unfortunately, a lot of horse owners, when I say the word energy, Justin's in the front, he knows what I'm talking about. They say, oh my God, I don't want my horse to go faster. I don't want my buggy horse going 1,000 miles an hour. I don't want it to buck my kids off. And they associate the word energy with go fast. Energy is fuel. You need fuel to live. So don't think about energy as making you go faster. It is the fuel to live. Without energy, everything dies. Oops. You will notice on the ingredients, I'm talking all about NAD, but that's not the actual ingredient that's in the Omega XL. The body is very good at making NAD if it has the right ingredients. And precursors like niacin, which is a B vitamin, is one of those. So you'll notice in the Omega XL, we have vitamin E, DHA, and niacin. And niacin is what is going to fuel the body to build and make that NAD. So in a performance horse, what's this extra fuel going to do? Recovery support, muscle energy, muscle building, stress support. Without it, the muscles cannot generate energy. That energy production will slow. They will fatigue faster. And especially when we're doing high workloads, whether that's race horses, buggy horses that get used a lot, as they age, natural production of this goes down. So older animals just don't have the ability to produce as much energy. Older performance horses. I know we've got these, it's been a conversation I've had a lot with other folks in the industry, how we've been so good at keeping these horses living longer and longer and longer. And now we have just these old horses that are retired in pastures, just not really doing anything. If we can keep them productive for longer, that would be a win for everybody. So something like NAD. Now, the research is ongoing. I will tell you, we are right on the edge of this. There's a lot of research in humans. There is a lot of research on reproduction in horses, but we are right on the edge of this. But if this could turn out to be a way to extend the shelf life of these horses, we're using it in Japan with a lot of thoroughbred breeding horses. If they can get 1 extra year out of those stallions, that's significant. Also, with glucose and insulin metabolism, we know that NAD and its ability to convert energy plays a role here. Horses under stress. You've all seen my little stress wheel that I've put up. Everything, turning the lights on at a different time, moving the goat, putting music on in the barn, everything can stress a horse. So our horses constantly live under a state of stress. We've got other ingredients like chromium that are also helping to mitigate that stress. So I'm not proposing that NAD is the fix-all, be-all, but you can see that we have built a very big, complex group of ingredients that all function together to really support these horses the best way we can. This is just another kind of tool in our bag. Aging horses. As I mentioned, NAD naturally declines with aging because you're just slowly breaking down. If we can decrease that aging, slow that aging down, reproduction relies, every reproductive tissue relies on energy. You've heard me say before, reproduction is a luxury. If you don't have enough energy to keep your own lights on, you are not going to reproduce. So, in order to get that animal more energy, eggs, oocytes rely on energy, embryo development, sperm motility, like that thing's got to swim, that relies on energy. Then after the mare's had the foal, uterine repair, we want that mare to bounce back and be able to get bred and be productive in your breeding program year after year after year. Energy drives every single one of these things. What causes, other than I've mentioned aging over and over again, and we're all trying to fight aging, intense exercise decreases NAD levels. Illness or inflammation, heat stress, travel, heavy breathing, all of these things stress and decrease NAD. So it becomes a very vicious cycle. So we're just trying to intercept that cycle. We're trying to give those muscles more energy, because when it drops, we're decreasing energy. What does that mean on a basic level? Your horses will tire faster. Recovery after training will take much longer. They will fatigue. They'll feel flat, lack of stamina. I'm feeding extra oats. Why is nothing happening? Because that ability to convert that oat into real usable energy is declining. We've all had some horses that you feed them real high fat, they get all the energy. You feed them oats, they get energy. Maybe this horse that you feed a high fat diet does not respond to oats. Maybe the horse that you feed a high oat diet never responds to high fat. I think that horses are different in their ability to respond, their pathways that help make that energy. So I think that this, whilst it's very cutting edge, and this, I will admit, I usually like to have research coming out my ears before I use any new technologies, but I think that there is some real positive, based on human nutrition, based on human work, and based on what we've seen already in equine research. I think this is going to be a real game changer. Combine the three: vitamin E, powerful antioxidant; niacin, which is going to give you that NAD, help with energy production; and the DHA, that's going to help with anti-inflammatory. Who can I use it for? Brood mares, performance horses, aging horses, fat horses, metabolic horses, horses with laminitis. I mean, again, I could pretty much make a case for every horse being able to have some benefit from a product like this. I think I still have a little bit of time. We're going to hit it in the back, because you know me, I love to change things up. And now a little group interaction. Everybody pick up their catalog. I love the catalog because, unlike most catalogs that you look at that are just selling you things, I really look at this catalog as an educational tool. It's a way, I've spent hours and hours, really the whole team spends hours and hours on this catalog every year, making sure that, number one, that it has all of the accurate information in it, but it is a tool for you to be able to utilize. I don't expect you to remember 1/10 of what is said today. There's so much overload. But hopefully in the catalog, a lot of this information, especially when I'm talking about the products, is in here. You can refer to this. You don't have to be an expert on anything. This is a tool. So I want to just flip through the catalog and show you some of the changes that I make, show you some of the new products as they're in there. We still have GI Pro 3. I know you've heard about that the last couple of years at DAC Days. We're still really advocating that. I broke down that sheet. It's a little simpler. Still the same information. We still have the About Us page. Our partners. Again, I think that any one of the DAC team will tell you that the partners are a huge kind of reason that sets DAC apart. And when you talk to new customers or people that are interested in DAC, you're not just talking to them, you're not just coming to them with just DAC. You have a whole team of people from NASC, Performance Horse Nutrition, Alltech, Zimpro, Kemin, they're all behind you. So I think it's really important to talk about the partners. We'll flick through, we've got the direct action. I rearranged, you'll see that I rearranged, and I know that I've talked with some of the reps about the order of the catalog. I tried to put all the products that are similar together, so we threw the Pastulic in there, the DDA, the direct action, and the Pastulic being the kind of more basic vitamin and mineral, and then getting into the more technological vitamins and minerals, so the orange superior. You'll notice here, we had launched last year the liquid vitamin and mineral supplement, the LQ Performance, starting to round out an LQ or liquid line. Really convenience-based. There are some people that just find using a liquid more convenient. The Racing Formula, the Total Performance Plus, the Breeder's Choice Plus, the Cult Grower, and then you will notice the Fall Starter Paste. We launched that last year. We have had huge success with the Fall Starter Paste. I know that Andy's going to touch on that a little bit after. Most of our pastes are in the back of the catalog and have they're all on a one page. But because this is a new product and I wanted you all to have more information, it's there right with the Cult Grower and has its own page. Maybe that'll change as we go forward, but I wanted it to have more information for you. Then we're looking at the Omega Excel. We're going to sell that in a 2-month supply. We're still working out what size of bag that will be because it's working out its density, but it is very concentrated. I've told you some of the benefits to it, but I've got them listed there as well. The DAC Horse Treats, and then into the Electro Aid, the Oil, the Bloom, the Metabolic, Foundation Formula, the LQ E-Natural Water Soluble. We didn't have a picture of it, so we have the little new product there. But any of you that were at the office last night will know that it comes in a little 500 ml or 16-ounce bottle. Most products that have a syringe don't have, you pour it in a little cup. It's actually really cool. It has a little hanger on it, has a syringe, and it has a little stopper that goes into the top of the bottle so you can flip it up and suck it out and it's not going to pour everywhere. I will tell you, I want to point this out. I forgot to mention this and I'll say it now. It's in a small bottle because it's expensive, but vitamin E is quite fragile, right? It's pedantic. We don't want, the minute you open it and you get oxygen in there, it starts to break down. So we really want to keep it in a small container. I know that a lot of people like to put supplements, either put it on the feed the night before, or they want to make up little baggies to send to the trainer with their horse. When it comes to vitamin E, please don't do that. The longer it's exposed to the oxygen, the quicker it's breaking down. So vitamin E is something you put on the feed right before you feed them, and you feed them. So that's just a little side note. The E-Natural on the next page there, the DDA, the Rescue Aid, the Cool Gut. We've got our gut health supplements here now, kind of building in therapeutic level, DDA being every horse every day, and then we're building to the products that not every horse needs. The LQ Pre-Buff, the bottles still, until we get new labels, just say Pre-Buff, but this is building out our liquid line so that in the catalog is LQ Pre-Buff. It is still the same great product. The Yucca 5-Way Pack, LQHA, again, that joint supplement that I recommend for younger horses. It's liquid hyaluronic acid. The Optimum Flex Plus, Herbal Respond, Formula E and SE, Calm B, Mare Relieve. I feel like we're getting a good order here. Then we've got the pastes. I moved around some of the grooming products so that they will all be kind of grouped together. We've got all the shampoos together, and then all the citronella sprays and the more liniment type products are grouped together. So hopefully that's a little bit more kind of streamlined. I was asked by several of the reps, you see that we've taken a lot of the ads out of the catalog, the kind of educational pieces, and I was asked to put in a body condition scoring chart because that is very, very valuable and a useful tool, so hopefully that will be of value to you, a little basic description, every single one of those criteria. The deer products. Now, he's not here, so I can totally throw him under the bus, but years ago, I was working with Andy, and everyone, whatever season it was obviously hunting season. I'm not a huge hunter myself, and everyone was showing me their pictures of their deer. And I say to Andy, do you think it would be useful if Dak had a deer supplement? He said, oh yeah, I feel like that'd be great. I mentioned it to Steve, and then all of a sudden it was his idea. I'm taking credit for it, right? And this beautiful picture here of, everybody's looking at that giant deer. So you know that we had the buck magnet and the big buck, the two mineral blocks. To round out that grouping, we actually now will soon have available a loose mineral. From my understanding, you like pour it on the ground and they eat it up. I don't know, but ask people that know more about deer. But it rounds out that category. I took out all of the specs on the deer products, like how much calcium it had in there and how much yeast or whatever. It still has the organic chromium that's going to help with those big, strong antlers. It's still got the marine calcium to help with bone density of those antlers, keep them strong. But ultimately, I think that most people, from what I've seen, really just like looking at deer pictures. And that giant thing there will sell this deer mineral more than any amount of mineral that's listed. So, and then just a little ad for the horse snacks. So that's all I have. I hope you're excited about those two new products. In our breakout session, I'm literally just going to take questions. You can ask me all the questions you want. I might wrangle Andy to come with me so that we can answer a bunch of questions. I don't know, do we have time for a couple of questions now, or do you want to keep rolling to the next? Let's do a couple of questions. I love to stay ahead of time so we can all get out of here earlier. But, yes, Justin.
What's the shelf life on the Liquid E?
Fantastic question. What is the shelf life on the Liquid E? Much longer if you never open it, but I want you to open it and use it. Once you open it and use it, again, under good conditions, it's not sitting on the dash of your truck, it's not like left the lid open, 12 months. Okay, so it does have a good, decent shelf life, but like any supplement, especially those supplements that can be oxidized or higher in fat, I really don't want you exposing it to extreme temperatures. I don't want it freezing, I don't want you cooking it in the sun. So, you know, be careful with it. Other questions? Yes, sir.
That's when it stays closed for 12 months, right?
Once you open it, we've got 12 months. You've got probably a little longer if you don't open it, but I want you to open it and use it. It's not decoration. I know my label's pretty, but it's not decoration. Couple more questions. I'll take a couple more. You've always got a question. Oh, great question. The loose deer mineral, is it the same quality as the block? Now, what I have learned about deer mineral, especially loose mineral, is that the cheaper versions are all full of salt. And that is what Steve said. He said, I don't want it to be full of salt because that's cheap. So I know that it's not salt-based. It's got other good things in it. So I think it is slightly different to the block. We've got a lot more chelated minerals in it, B vitamins. It's going to be really palatable. But I'll guarantee it'll make the antlers grow. I won't guarantee that you'll shoot it. Yes, sir. Oh, I wish I could say yes. So the question was, is the Omega XL available today on your order sheet? And RJ and I tried so hard this year. We really did, because every year we're kind of behind the 8 ball and we talk about products that aren't available. I will guarantee you can buy that liquid vitamin E, but not quite on the Omega XL. We had some last-minute issues, and it's really not us, it's the new DHA supplier. They're really breaking into the pet food and horse market, and I think they've been a little overwhelmed by the response because their product is good, but...
We will offer everybody that's here your normal DAC Days discount that you're getting today on that product as soon as we do get to launch it. Yeah, do not put it on your order form. We're not back ordering it. As soon as it's available, we'll put it out to you guys, offer you your discount for being here and attending.
Yes, sir.
The 200-pound mineral tub, is that still on the plate or banded or what happened?
200-pound, no.
Last year you mentioned it.
Oh, did I mention it?
No, not you.
The other one mentioned. No 200-pound mineral tub. Shipping would destroy us, and no. Okay, well, write your questions down, have lots of questions. We'll have a great breakout session, and we'll answer all the questions you have. You, yep. All right.
Hey, let's give Dr. Cubitt a big, warm thank you. Hey, and this is something I want you to do right now. I want you to obviously stand up and stretch your legs, but I want you to share with the people at your table what was the big takeaway you had from this session? My big takeaway is I need some NAD plus in my life. That's one big takeaway I had. But why don't you guys stand up, stretch your legs, and share with the people what your move was going to be and what that moment was that stuck out to you from what she just shared.